So I wanted to review the Sugar Mommy show at the La Jolla Comedy Store. Um, the host of the show was Crystal De La Rosa, and she did her set. Um, it was actually mostly new material from what I remembered when I saw her the last time, because I've only seen her one time, and she has a very good knack for doing the splits on stage. She is very flexible and very fit. So kudos to Crystal. In terms of her comedy the whole night, I would say I would be giving her an eight out of 10 for her stand up. Good stuff. Found it very funny. Um, there were probably some parts of her stand up that did not get too much of a reaction, but it already it already had transitioned to something else, and it also got some good laughs, not only for myself but for some others from the crowd. Next up, we have Kim Jones. This may have been the first time I've seen her. I don't remember Kim Jones too much from previous shows I've been to, but let's just say this is the first time I've seen her. And she had some funny bits about um, how she has a quick way of getting rid of Mormons that tend to come up to her um, in her neighborhood. And she said one bit where she remembered that these Mormons usually have a usual MO, main objective of what they're going to talk to you about, and um, how to be closer to Jesus, I guess. And she said that she remembered that her kid just got off of his medication. I guess it was Adderall or something, or Oterin. That's supposed to help, the hyperactivity, um, I guess, in behavior. And um, she brought her son to meet the two Mormons, and she did the voice of what her son would say, and it was like um, constant ramblings of questions, and that became such a funny bit because like she did it in like maybe under 2 minutes of everything that her son would say to get to the Mormons, and the Mormons pretty much got freaked out and decided to leave her alone and her son alone. So that was pretty funny, and everybody clapped. um, but she mentioned in her bit that as a even as a single mother or a married mother, um, that as a mother that you would never go to the bathroom alone, really, whether you have kids or pets, which I kind of find to be true. And what I've seen and heard from others, that kids and pets will tend to follow you because they already see you as this motherly figure that you just got to be around. And, you know, people have to go to the bathroom, but sometimes you just realize everybody just follows you. So I find that to be pretty cool. Um, I can't wait to see more of her show, and maybe longer sets down the road. Um, so yeah, I gave her an 8.2 out of 10. The next person that came up was An Antoine Tobias. First time seeing him live, and he has some good stuff in his set. He even asked the crowd if he looks like he's a gay black man or a black gay man, and he followed that up with by saying the correct answer is yes. So he was a funny guy. I thought that Antoine was 8 out of 10. Next up is one of the producers, Linda Schwartz. This is my first time seeing her um, do stand up comedy, and I actually liked her set. She said that she was raised in the South as an Asian woman, so and she mentioned how when It was tough, and how she was a foster kid. So she brought up the fact that she once went to a picnic get together or a barbecue picnic, and she brought egg rolls. And given that at the time it wasn't a lot of, I guess you could say, Asian food in the area, so when she brought the egg rolls to the picnic, um, the I guess the party host, did not know where to put the egg rolls. Didn't know if to be placed with like the main courses or at the end of the buffet line where the napkins are. So, and then she had another bit where she talked about how she married a man that was older than her, and the thing that may have gotten her to say yes to marrying the guy was a romantic few words. She mentioned that um, you don't have to work if you don't want to. So, crowd was kind of into it. Um, I thought that she kind of started off kind of slow with her stand up, but it really picked up as the rest of her time went on. So I give Linda Schwartz an 8 out of 10. Um, Next up um, was Kimball's Whom. I've seen her quite a few times now. I think maybe three times. One open mic and two full sets at shows. Um, Great comedian, great person to talk to. Um, she always has that funny bit where she talks about the moment that she had twins and she's married, and she realized um, uh, she had three penises in her at the same time. So that got everybody laughing because technically that's kind of true if you think about it. So a lot of good stuff from Kimball's, and I would say the set that she did, I would probably give her 8.5 out of 10. So pretty funny lady. Next up, a comic that I've never heard before, but I'm glad it's my first time seeing him, and actually ran into him at the front entrance before I went in for the show. Sammy Cantu. He's half Vietnamese and half Mexican, so that's an interesting combo. Funny guy, very nice. Um, um, I think from his set, I can remember. Um, he was a 8.1 out of 10 for his stand up. Um, he has some good bits I remembered, but I think it kind of tailed off a little bit. But I think he kind of finished strong. So, yeah, 8.1 out of 10 for him. And then a familiar face, Lisa Gilbert. I've seen her quite a few times throughout San Diego. May have seen her one time up in LA too, at the Flappers Comedy in Burbank. So uh, it was basically the same stuff I've heard before. And she still has this funny bit how her kid does gymnastics, and she's gone to it so many times now. And she said that she heard her daughter yell across the gym for everybody to hear, saying, "Mom, are you even watching?" And then um, Lisa then says back, "Honey, it's only 10% gymnastics and 90% me watching you pick the leotard out of your ass." So that got everybody laughing and stuff. Um, uh, I would say her material was 8 out of 10. Um, I am hoping to hear some new stuff from her down the road, but if that's her bread and butter, more power to her. Um, and then the last person to go up for the Sugar Mommy show It's the other producer, Lynn's son. So this is actually my second time seeing her, and she's great. Got to see her before the show and after the show. Super nice and humble. She had a T-shirt that says Cambodian Barbie, so that was always pretty cool of her. Um, yeah, I like her dark comedy actually. So um, there was something about her set where she talked about how she doesn't like giving blowjobs because she has no neck, and everybody laughed at that because that probably has a lot of truth to it. And then she talked about how she used to be a massage therapist, and um, she pointed out to the other producer's husband, who was in the audience, that you know, for the ones who get massages, knows that there's certain terms that mean certain things when you go to a massage, and I guess the term, I guess it's at these special massage places, if you say the word what is it, the full body special or something. Um, so that means that um, let's see, was it full service or something? Full service or full body special, which kind of implies that with the massage there's sex involved. Um, but if you say the words essential package or essential special, then it just means that a hand job is included in the massage. So yeah, I think that was some new stuff. I don't remember that being part of the last time, but it was a lot of good stuff, and she's super hilarious. And then she talked about, um, I guess you could say, like all the stressful, annoying things about having a daughter, um, or just having a kid in general. And um, overall, I would say Linson's snap material, I would give her a score of 8.4 out of 10. So, and I can tell when I talk to both Linda and Linson um, at the show and on social media that they're super humble, super nice, and I look forward to their shows down the road. So can't wait. So that was Wednesday night. So on Thursday night, I went to the mic drop in Claremont Mesa Boulevard. Um, Again, always a fun comedy club to go to. You don't have to pay for parking. And um, the show that I went to was hosted by Katie K. She's a very hilarious comedian that bounces between LA and San Diego. And she has this show called The New Shit Show, which is featured basically either once a month or once every 2 months. So I've heard of it before, and I keep seeing it on the calendar. And this is my first time going to it, and I'm glad I went because it was a very fun show. Um, so KDK had started off the show like usual. I've seen her one time before, and she's super hilarious. Um, it was a slightly different set, and she brought up pickleball and how it got to be a more popular sport these days. And she would ask the crowd, if you happen to have an injury that causes you to go to the hospital because you play pickleball, would you go back to the court and play pickleball even more? And everybody pretty much says, yeah, they would go back. So she's like, um, oh my gosh, you guys are all like sick or psychos, and if I got placed in the hospital because of a sports injury, I would never go back. And she kind of did some more bits about it, and she kind of went back to this one other bit where she kind of improved on it, and she just kind of like asked like the person closest um, to the front stage, and this was in the gold room, by the way. And there was a guy she had asked how much would you know, a picture of her armpits would go for. Because apparently people do have little niches and little things, fetishes about people's feet or hands or, in this case, armpits. And I remembered she had done this at a previous show I saw of hers, and she brought up, I think it was like $25 or something, and um, but I blurted out $10, and I remember she turned to me, and I had to kind of deny that I said it, but that was just kind of part of the funny just tag along thing, and when she did it last Thursday, um, I guess the guy that she had asked on Thursday, the guy had said $50, and funny bit, and I think she ended her set by saying, "Let it be on the record on the tape here that um, just remember I'm funnier than the fan." um, so that was pretty hilarious. How she kind of like transitioned from her conversation about armpits to who's funnier, and just for the record on tape, um, of what actually happened here. So, or you can just burn the tape. So she's always funny to talk to, and always cool, always positive vibes. Um, I gave her comedy set a 8.3 out of 10, so I would say that's pretty fair. And then next up was Nate Robinson. Same name as the basketball player, but this is not the basketball player. If anything, he's actually taller than him, actually. Um, Nate Robinson, I think he had a bit where he talked about Super Mario Kart, and that's what I kind of took from his set. And guy's super cool. Um, I would say his set was an 8 out of 10. The next person, this was actually just a last minute addition because he actually had a big show in the main room and we were in the gold room. And I actually got to see him again last night. And for some strange reason, I forgot to take a picture with him because I only took a picture of him with the group, but not um, with him and me. So, but his name is actually Eric Schwartz. Famous guy, famous comedian. And he did a set and he kind of did some improv during the set. And I would say his stuff was a 8.6 out of 10. So he's super funny. And he is a fan of Rihanna. So he's a super cool guy. I did remember a part where he kind of took off his cap to kind of relate to a bald man in the crowd. Um, so next up we have Natasha Collier. I have seen her before. This is probably like maybe my third or fourth time seeing her. I did meet her at a Don't Tell comedy show here in San Diego, and she was super. You know, her set was pretty different, so it was clearly new, but like the tone and the jokes, and I guess how she did some crowd work with it. Um, I mean, she is funny, but I don't know if the crowd was like super into her set, so I kind of just give her an 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Alex Petit. He's actually one of the owners of Duckfoot Brewery in Miramar. He does host a Super Mario Kart tournament at his brewery along with another guy. So, super cool guy. I have to admit, I was kind of sort of annoyed with him at first, and I wasn't too um, eager to kind of meet him the first time, but the second time, I guess it was actually okay, and I didn't really have any like hard feelings or anything about the guy. So yeah, I think overall he's a cool guy to talk to. He's actually kind of humble too, so super cool guy. Um, he kind of had an interaction with the I think it was like a European guy in the front row, and he got the guy's girl, his date, to identify what kind of relationship they have, and everybody laughed when the lady had said, "Oh no, we're nothing. Nothing's going on. Um, Nothing at all." And everybody just laughing their ass off. Um, and then short time after, at some point, because I think the guy was actually supposed to be his boy, her boyfriend and stuff, and he actually went over and kissed her. And the funny part is that sometime after that, with a few more jokes, the girl kissed the guy back. So I guess they are a couple now. So that was actually a good part of the set. Alex Petit, um, I would say his set was got a lot of people laughing. He may not have actually put in a lot of jokes, but the fact that he got most people laughing just because of just face to face interaction with the crowd, I would say just overall he is an 8.5 out of 10. The only kind of downside about this lineup is this next comic here. I guess he's a new guy, and they said that this is actually his debut at the mic drop. I think his name is Chris Patella, but I was in a baseball cap. I actually didn't realize the guy was actually sitting behind me for the show. And although I did get to talk to one of his buddies, because one of his buddies was actually very curious about what I had just ordered. It was the carne asada fries, the King of Hearts, and I told him it looks pretty good and it tastes pretty good. And the guy was impressed, and he actually ordered it for himself and his crew. So aside from that, um, Chris Patella, I think with this set and the fact that I've never actually heard from him before or seen him before, he had mostly talked about a dream he had about Elon Musk and semen. And um, he said that he had some women with her and said that in his dream there was like a projectile of semen coming his way, and it somehow landed on his face and he somehow woke up. Um, So his entire set was mostly talking about semen and Elon Musk, and I guess one or two comics had to bring up the maybe just a slight remark that maybe we had this set to help bring out a comic out of the closet. So, um, but overall, I would say Chris's stand up was probably a 7.5 out of 10. So next up, we have a comic that I've seen before once. I saw her for the first time at Gillies in University Avenue. Super funny gal. And what's great is that she just got her braces off and she has dental freedom. So um, I can tell that she's sporting like her new teeth basically. Um, got that beautiful smile going. So she's showcasing it to everybody, and with her set, um, she had, well, talked about her daughter and how it's stressful and annoying sometimes. Um, and she got the crowd laughing for a lot of bits, and I think her comedy is getting better each time actually. So um, her name is Lucy Love. So I would say her set may have been the funniest, but I would say that her set was probably 8.5 out of 10. Um, but yeah, super funny gal. I'll get to talk after. Because I can't wait to see more stuff of hers. And then the last comic of the night, someone I've seen before. And this was a guy named Andrew Parker Davis. I saw him once before at Melissa Weisman's show at the Amplified Brewery. Um, the guy can be somewhat dark, but he can be super hilarious too. So when he started his set, he was actually super funny for the first 5 or so minutes. And then it got to like maybe towards the second half of his set where um, it, it didn't get to be as receptive with the crowd. But I mean, there's a lot of laughs going on, but there are a lot of like kind of like dead spots and um, maybe a little difficult to close out on a high note. So he kind of like filled it up with material, but may not have all hit with the crowd. So it kind of got from what I would have had it as an 8.8. It would have been the funniest until it kind of started dragging down. And then it got it to the point where he ends up kind of being an 8.1 out of 10. So, and I think he kind of felt it and he kind of knew it too. So, but afterwards, after the show, cool guy to talk to. I got a picture with him and KDK. So, and then last night's show, same mic drop. Um, again, the Filipino fried rice with steak was pretty good. Um, I would say it was probably a 9 out of 10 just for the portion. It wasn't too big of a portion, but it was just enough for going to a comedy show, and the steak is always good. So, and the other thing, the King of Hearts Cornets out of fries, I would say that was probably a 8.8 out of 10 actually, because it actually has a sidewinder fries inside. So, uh, with that being the case, so the show last night, Dope City comedy show, they're touring countrywide, and they happened to be in San Diego last night, and we have um, the host, Rafa Camargo. Is actually the first time I've seen a full set from him, and I remember seeing him at open mic actually because some of the jokes were familiar. Um, and he said that he saw me at the Madhouse before, so that's probably how I remembered him. And I guess we didn't officially meet until last night. So it was kind of cool. He's going to be moving to Austin, Texas to kind of pursue more comedy out there and leave San Diego behind. So this was technically probably his last San Diego show. And he's told me that he's going to be in Austin within 3 weeks. But glad I got to see his show before he leaves. Um, so he's just getting his stuff together and getting ready for the next chapter in his life. So he did the hosting job for the show last night for Dope City, and it was a pretty short show. In the terms of there was only three comics, just himself, the host, and then two. Basically, it was the headliners. Go straight to the headliner. So with Rafa Camargo, he talked about how he was, um, how he got kind of drunk and wasted, and he did weed, and um, he said that one time he got flagged down. He was in a car with a buddy, and they were going to do drink and then have some weed. And then the police officer came up to their car and um, the guy tapped on the window and asked for the IDs of the two guys in the car, and then asked, "What are you doing out here?" And he mentioned that, sir, this is actually like the number one spot for like male prostitution, and everybody laughed, and then so you got everyone to think that you got duped by a male prostitute in the area, and then he said that, well, we're gonna have to arrest you for public intoxication, and um, and this is only because, well, they were so wasted that they couldn't really drive the car, and the fact that they were kind of like at some sort of traffic intersection and it just didn't move. So So because of that, they got arrested. And before Rafa got placed in the cop car, he had to ask the police officer. So I want to ask this quick question before you put me in. Your honest opinion, which of the two of us did you think was the male prostitute? And he said that the police officer replied, well, you're going to be very popular in prison, in jail. So um, that was super hilarious. And I'm glad that I got to see Rafa's stand up. So Rafa, I kind of give an 8.5 out of 10. Super funny. By the way, there was a really hilarious drunk guy in the front row. Um, uh, just being drunk in the front row, I mean, you're always going to be the target of everybody's stand up. And I actually was sitting in the front too, but I was more to the side. And I'm actually in the spotlight of their tape in. So if you ever see a tape in of these comics and I'm sitting in the front row, you can see me front and center in the spotlight. So yeah. But next up, they introduced Tim Hanlon. My first time seeing the guy. Never heard of him before, but I'm glad I got to see him last night. Talked about how it's always tough having a daughter and wishing that she was a lesbian. Everybody laughed. Um, he had a lot of funny jokes, a lot of good bits, a lot of funny stuff about life, especially dealing with his daughter. And and was hoping that maybe some female in the crowd could help turn his daughter into a lesbian because he said to everybody that he hates every single boy that his daughter brought to the home and stuff. And I'm pretty sure any father could probably attest to that too, mostly. So, Tim Hanley, I kind of give a 8.7 out of 10. Funny guy. And I guess the last one is the other headliner. It was Matt Bellick. My first time seeing the guy. Cool guy. And the guy is into the UFC. So the guy is pretty cool. And we talked about the UFC fights before he went up, actually. And so Matt Bellick talked about how uh, when he was growing up, and he asked everyone if anyone ever had like a family computer set up in the living room, but in the household that he was in, there was like a figure or a picture of Jesus right above the computer. So he talked about how in that household where um, you would just, I guess, because when you had that computer back in the 90s, and I guess for some strange reason, every single person, mostly boys, have this inclination to look up like pornography on the computer. But knowing that there's a Jesus figure that's right above the camera or the computer, um, his whole idea of his experience as a kid with a computer in the family room is always covering his eyes and switching hands with Jesus looking at him while he's masturbating. So everybody laughed at that, and he kind of did the gesture of how it would look like back of back as to how it would have been in 1990s with the computer in the family room. And every adolescent kid probably may or may not have had gone through the same thing where um, going through that. For me,